Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. We'll be finishing up with the final, I guess not the final Hunger Games installment, but the final one that is currently released. So we'll be discussing the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Watched it yesterday, didn't do a review till this morning. But the same as always, overall impressions and grade after ratings and logistics. If you've not seen the movie would like to, after the grade there will be spoiler alerts discussing the plot synopsis and any character development, as well as any similar movies or major themes. So, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 was released in 2015. It is rated PG-13. It's an action/science fiction movie. It has a runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes. You can watch it on Hulu with a regular subscription. That's where I watched it. You can also watch it on Peacock or AMC Plus or Philo with a regular subscription. That's what Google says. It says, Google says why to watch. Well, it says you'll love it, recommended based on your recent search behavior. Yes, I do review a lot of movies. So, it says, realizing the stakes are no longer just for survival, Katniss Everdeen, played by Jennifer Lawrence, teams up with her closest friends, including Peeta, played by Josh Hutcherson, and Gale, played by Liam Hemsworth, and Finnick for the ultimate mission. Together they leave District 13 to liberate the citizens of war-torn Panem and assassinate President Snow, who's obsessed with destroying Katniss. What lies ahead are mortal traps, dangerous enemies, and moral choices that will ultimately determine the future of millions. Budget $160 million, did $653 at the box office. So, what did I think of this one? Well, 83% liked it on Google, 4 out of 5 on Common Sense, 70% liked it on Rotten Tomatoes, and 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Directed by Francis Lawrence. So again, I continue to like it. I thought the Mockingjay Part 1 was probably the weakest out of all of the series. So I like this one better than Part 1. Not sure about, if it was like, because I like the actual Hunger Game concept of them, fighting to the death. But this one had more of, once they start going to President Snow, there's some more of just like, booby trap type of gitches. And so I thought it was more kind of like the Hunger Games, kind of proper-ish, I guess, to get just to the concept of what the show is, or books are. And so, overall, I'm going to give this one back to the B+. I think I gave Part 1 a B. So overall, I'll give the entire series a B+, but again, there's another one coming out. So if you've not seen it and would like to, there will be spoiler alerts when I shut off this video now. So the movie opens up. Again, Katniss is recovering. I'm gonna probably mix this up with Part 1 again. But Katniss is recovering after Peeta tried to choke and kill her. And so the Part 1, I believe, ended when Katniss goes and sees Peeta squirming on the bed. And so she's injured. She wakes up. She has getting some treatment for having swollen vocal cords and some neck injuries. Peeta is restrained again. Again, they're all in District 13 underground. You have President Snow in the Capitol. And the District 13 crew is it's run by President Alma. BD is kind of like the head, again, tech dude, as well as Plutarch is also the game maker from the second movie, is also a head advisor or something to President Alma. And so again, back at 13, you have Katniss Everdeen, Primrose Everdeen, Peeta in shackles from, again, the Tracker Jacker venom poisoning and conditioning, Gale Hawthorne, Finnick Odair, who was a player from a previous one, Hey Mitch, the Woody Harrelson character, is also, again, another major role, and Antonius, he is he was teabagged again, but he is kind of like an advisor to President Snow in the Capitol. Those are the major players. Again, Caesar, the host of the games, the major interviewer. Then you have some more other minor characters in their new crew, like Boggs, Pollux. There's again, the blonde chick with her hair shaved on one side. And so they basically decide, once Katniss heals a little bit, that they need to shoot more, they call them propos, which is propaganda pieces. And so they needed to do more of that. And so this time they're going to go to... they're going to go plan an attack on, they go to District 2 and they're planning an attack on the Capitol. And again, they want to go assassinate President Snow, but they're not exactly sure what to do. And so, they have different rebel groups, and they're like, we don't want to be a sacrifice. This will cause too many casualties. But what they end up deciding to do is, like, basically targeting avalanche spots or just geographic locations to, like, box these people in or snow them in so they can't, like, move or go anywhere. And so they bomb and avalanche some things. And then they have a way for, like, civilians to escape through this train and tunnel area. And so Katniss heals, and then they do this bombing, and they go to the site to see and to have some footage of the civilians being rescued and showing that District 13, they're not just killing random civilians, just like the capital is as well. And so the train of people comes. Katniss has a suit that Cinna had decided before he was beaten to death in the second movie, and so she has this this kind of like Mockingjay outfit, superhero outfit. And so some of these people get off the train, and she goes and approaches some of them. I think they shoot, like they open fire on one of them, and Katniss is like, no, stop. She goes, approaches one of them. They pull a gun on her. The individual pulls a gun on Katniss, and he was like, why shouldn't I shoot you right now? And she's like, go ahead, blah, blah, blah. I forget exactly what she says. But he ends up not shooting her at first, and then they kind of like open fire, and she gets shot, but the suit is bulletproof. And so they get all this on tape, and it makes it a great propo. And so now she has, she's getting some treatment for, taking some damage or bruising from the gunshots. But now she is like the queen, and they get just more reputation building from taking some gunshot wounds and surviving. And so they try to train Peeta again with people that haven't. He's been conditioned to want to kill Katniss, and so they have her sister Primrose go in there to where he's being restrained to try to bring up old memories and just refresh who he is. And so he starts out pretty normal at first, and then erupts into we have to kill Katniss, we have to kill Katniss, we have to kill Katniss. And so that's going on there. And then after she gets shot in District 2, basically the main majority of the plot development is Katniss decides she is going to kind of go off the racks. President Alma's like, you've done your purpose, you've rallied the troops, but now we want you to rest and recover. And she's like, basically decides, kind of with Gale's help or, just discussion that I don't know if it's Gale, but she's going to go to the front lines and try to assassinate President Snow. And so I don't know if it's just the movie reviews, but I just did the Bible read through and yawned once reading and talking. So I don't know why when I'm just talking I start yawning. But anyway, she goes to the front lines. She meets Gale there. They do the three-finger thing. All the people in District 2 showing her a lot of love and support. And they decide that they are going to go. They are under the command of Boggs is the commander, and there's another chick that's also like the second in authority. I forget her name. Don't have it up here. But regardless, their crew. Again with Pollux, Boggs, Katniss, Gale, Finnick, the blonde chick with her hair shaved, and some other people. They are going to go and try to kill President Snow, but they're going to follow behind the front line several miles. But it's still an active war zone, and they have these things called pods, which those kind of like the novelty or like getting kind of back to like the booby traps, the environment of the original Hunger Games, actual games. But they just have different like killing mechanisms that are just planted around the city or in the capital to protect them from the rebels. And so they have this device that can, that knows where a lot of them are. They're not sure if it's a complete list. So they also have like a nighttime pill or something, but just like a way to commit suicide if they get captured. And now they start trekking through this broken down, beaten down capital area. And so they come across this first pod, and it's just Katniss shoots an arrow through two buildings, and then these huge flamethrowers come out and just would have incinerated anybody below them. And so they keep moving forward. And at the same kind of time, I think they go for a little farther. So the next one The next pod is a bunch of it. It's kind of like in this hallway. Boggs throws something through there, and it's like just automatic machine. 2 miniguns pop out of the walls and just mow down anything that would have come through the archway or the walkway. And so once the coast is clear, Boggs starts walking again, and he steps on a mine. And so he gets mortally injured. He's dying imminently, and he had the device that finds these pods and has like the directions or whatever. It has some sort of special security clearance with your voice, and so he transfers the authority to Katniss as opposed to his number 2. And Boggs is like, watch your back, or like look out for yourself. Not everyone has your best interests at heart. And you also get some discussion that Katniss, because President Alma originally didn't want Katniss to go to the front lines. When she goes anyway, she gets like told that basically if she dies in battle, then it's just going to be used for more propaganda, or for more support for the rebel movement or for District 13. And so now they're moving through, and then they go. The next pod that happens is they get kind of. I think it's actually in the same area where Boggs dies. Is the walls just basically close together, and then a bunch of oil just kind of floods this area, and so they have to run up and try to get into a building and get as high as they can. When they're doing that, Peeta again has a traumatic flashback and reverts to trying to kill the group, and he kills one of the people in their group, just throws him into the oil, and he gets like pinned up with like wires somehow. But regardless, he also tries to kill Katniss with like hitting her with a gun. And they all end up running up they restrain Peeta, and they run up into this building and stay safe out of the way of oil. And so the oil kind of dries, and they know they have to move quickly because the peacemakers or peacekeepers, which are the Capitol soldiers, are going to be coming any time now. And so they move just across the street. It's like a big kind of like circular apartment building area. So they run across the street after the oil dries and hide away in that building. And the cameras, there's cameras pretty much everywhere in this environment and in the setting. But the oil, I guess, would have destroyed the cameras. And so they're able to move locations without being seen by the Capitol surveillance. And so a bunch of peacekeepers come, they blow up, they destroy the whole building, and then both President Snow and President Alma have press conferences talking about President Snow's like, this is good for the Capitol, the rebel that is trying to destroy us is now dead, and President Alma's like, look at our Mockingjay who's fought for the crew until the end. So they're all watching this from a nice apartment across the street. The peacekeepers destroy the building, and then they decide Pollux, they're trying to figure out how they can get to the Capitol with all these pods everywhere, and they don't even know if it's a complete list. And so Pollux suggests, he's the dude with the tongue cut out, and he can't talk, and so he suggests that they go through the tunnels of the subway. And so they go down there, they have to dodge a couple trains, and Katniss thinks they're too exposed. At the same time, you have a meeting back in the Capitol where they're all having dinner, and President Snow asks Antonius to stand up and give a toast, why we're celebrating. And Antonius is like, the death of the Mockingjay, and President Snow's like, she didn't die. We have her on camera that she's still alive. And so Antonius gets poisoned at the table, and he is dead. And so he dies, and as they continue to try to move through the subway area, and so they move a little further, and they're kind of like resting one time, and then they start to hear like these screams, and the President Snow has released some kind of a ghoul character, again, kind of like similar. So I could have been a little stronger, where it's like if you're in the game of the Hunger Games and then in the environment, they can create these things, but then when you're outside the arena, they can create these things. That was kind of, could have been a little tighter on the plot there. But regardless, you have these big like ghoul goblin things, kind of weird looking creatures, starting chasing them through this tunnel system. And so they're fighting them off the best they can. A 5-10 minute fight scene. They're all trying to climb up this exit capsule, and once Katniss gets up there. Finnick kind of like sacrifices himself for Katniss. He's fighting off these things, and he gets swarmed by a bunch of them. And the device that has like the mappings and the pods locations has a self-destruct feature. So she, oh gosh, Margaret's are now open. That surprised me. But regardless, she like activates the self-destruction mechanism of this piece of technology and blows up all of these ghoulish goblin things. And so now she's pretty distraught that she's gotten some of Pollock's friends killed. Finnick is dead, and so she's again blaming herself for the death of these people. And so now they basically learn that the Capitol announces that they're going to evacuate the outer sections of the Capitol, and so that all of the civilians have free refuge. And so Katniss and Gale decide that they are going to go basically just dress up as civilians and try to sneak into the Capitol and kill President Snow. So at this time, Peeta is starting to be able to be back to getting back to his normal self. He's starting to be able to differentiate the false memories from the real ones, and kind of get back to not being, treated to kill Katniss. And so, as Katniss and Gale are walking up there, they realize that the Peacekeepers are checking every single person that walked through. And so, if they turn around, they're gonna be really obvious. They do turn around, but then there's people checking in the back as well. So they're trying to move in oh shit, we're gonna get caught. And once they catch us, we're dead instantly. And so they kind of hung up at the gate. Katniss sees Primrose is there as like a medic helping at the front rows. But basically, some rocket strikes hit, I believe, right as they're about to get caught. And then also they have some, like in the same way in the Hunger Games environment, they can drop parachutes. They drop more parachutes and their bombs. And so they blow up, big blow up scene, just explosions. Primrose gets killed. Katniss, I'm not sure if Gale lives or dies. I think Gale might die. I think Gale dies in that scene, in that sequence as well. But regardless, Katniss wakes up and she's kind of being taken care of. I believe it might miss a scene or two, but basically what happens after that is even the bombs. Katniss kind of has she kind of gets up and goes into a courtroom with President Snow, and you learn that President Snow has been captured completely. Once the bombs dropped, everyone assumed that it was President Snow who bombed children, so everyone in his own team had no support for him whatsoever, which is kind of strange considering the premise of the Hunger Games is kids killing each other. But regardless, that makes him lose the support, and so he's captured by the Resistance, by District 13, and Alma is going to be the assumed president. And so President Snow basically tells Katniss, it was like, it wasn't me who dropped the parachutes. It was President Alma who knew that everyone would assume it was me, and so she was the really one that just bombed the kids and is basically doing the same thing I'm doing. And so Alma calls a meeting or a vote. And you have Plutarch there, you have Beatty there, you have Haymitch is there, and the other Katniss and Peeta as well. So yeah, I do think Gale dies in that scene. But they vote basically. Alma suggests herself as president and as the interim president, and they basically have a vote to see. Alma wants to have the people that they captured have an honorary Hunger Games as well, to kind of force them into do what they did to them. And so as a way to people want justice and blood, but we want to keep as little violence as possible. And so Katniss kind of sandbagging votes yes, as long as she gets to be the one that kills President Snow. And so I guess they get enough votes to have the Hunger Games with the participants being Capitol members. And so the next day of this big ceremony, where they're going to where Katniss is going to shoot President Snow, and President Alma's like, shoot straight, and she's like, okay, and then she pulls out an arrow, and then Katniss shoots and kills President Alma. And so I'm assuming she did that because of the both of the vote to do the Hunger Games again, as well as killing Primrose. And then the crowd storms and rips apart President Snow. So both Alma and Snow are dead. So the kind of resolution final scenes are there's like a black lady that is like a rebel leader from District 2. So she gets elected to be the president of Panem, and you have a couple final scenes of Katniss going home, saying goodbye to Haymitch saying goodbye to Effie Trinket, who again plays a minor role in this movie as well. But regardless, they go back to their district or their home, and you have some final scenes of which you don't get like a time frame fast forward. But Katniss has now married Peeta, and they have 2 kids. So you have like a little son and Peeta playing in the field, and Katniss holding a baby. So that's where the movie resolves. Again, overall, I found it entertaining. I liked it better than Mockingjay Part 1, and probably very similar to the first 2 parts of the Hunger Games installments. And so I'm assuming that so I was wondering what they were going to do, casting Rachel Ziegler for the Songbird, or whatever the 5th one's going to be. But I'm assuming it's going to be like her daughter of the Jennifer Lawrence when she's holding the baby. I'm assuming it's going to be like the baby has grown up. There's going to be some time development. It's probably already known. I mean, I think it's still probably based on another book. But I haven't read the book, so that's what my guess is in terms of the plot development. And we shall see where it goes from here. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.